Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Let's Be Social. I'm Bee, and I'm very excited today to welcome on my guest. Her name is Krissy Whiski, and she is one of my favorite personal artists. I actually have some of her artwork in my home, and she's very talented. She's got a very surrealistic pop style, which is my favorite. And I welcome you to the show. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, and so I always start out just asking, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you decide that you wanted to do, because you do art as a career, right?
Yes,
So how did you kind of get started in that and how long have you been doing it?
I've been doing art since I was a child, and even as far back as kindergarten, I said I wanted to be an artist on that sheet that you write about yourself. Now, I didn't think that was a realistic goal as I got a little older because making money as an artist is a very strange thing. There's many ways to go about it, and I didn't know the process of that. So, straight out of high school, I worked a bunch of odd jobs and ended up coming along this art gallery. And I worked there. It was a female run art gallery with a bunch of women. And there was one primary artist who owned the building and she had local artists. This was in Matlacha, Florida. I worked at a number of their art galleries and learned the business of selling art from these women who I became great friends with and learned how to sell other artists' artwork while I was still just trying to find my style. And I was doing art as a hobby at this time and didn't feel like an artist. But I figured if I learn how to sell art, like that's step one. And then maybe I can do art. And since I know how to sell it or how the mechanisms of the galleries work, then I'd be a step ahead. So I continued to do art as a hobby. I did faux finishing and murals for a time, all throughout the Naples, Florida's Fort Myer area. And then the housing collapse happened. I had my son and my oldest, he's 15 now. I started doing art a little more while I had him, while I was pregnant with him, and I was doing commissions of portraits and doing art that I wanted to do for myself in my free time and selling that at like local coffee shops. It wasn't until 2016 that I ventured into doing art full time for as a living because it wasn't before then it wasn't selling enough or consistently to make money. And in 2016 I sat down and said, you know what, I've got to online build this bigger and become a full-time artist. And right before I did that, I was in Savannah, Georgia area and I was a photographer. So that kind of gave me my like, how does a business work and how can I market myself? So I had been doing that online and took a lot of portraits of people. So I kind of knew like how to capture a moment in time. And now I was like, I want to do art full time. So let's try this. And I started in 2016, like actually selling my art full time. And I did an art show every single weekend for a year.
Wow.
I booked myself so it was so crazy between art shows and festivals, but I really got out there and built a big audience. And that was like the if enough people see this and enough people like it, maybe people will buy it. And then that started happening and it was like it's like you're building a flywheel and it just sometimes clicks and works. And I learned some things that didn't work along the way, like that I can't do an art show every single week because
Yeah.
I have kids and I get tired. And these events are thousands of people that are like they're so packed. And I would need like 2 or 3 days downtime to like recover from the event and just process everything that happened. And then I'd be going into another. So
Wow.
I felt like I didn't have enough time to actually do art. So in 2018, I scaled back doing art shows to maybe 2 a month. And I got pickier about the ones that I was doing. And I was getting more sales just online from the flywheel I generated of people. So that was pretty cool. And I got to do more of the art I wanted to do, which was my favorite part. Kind of got spoiled with that one.
Cool. Um, do you find it challenging now to, because now you have a good audience, you have a good base online. Do you find it challenging now? Like, do you still do shows now, or do you just primarily sell?
Right now, I'm rebuilding. I do find it challenging now because during COVID, my youngest was kindergarten and first grade during lockdown, and
Yeah,
school closed, but the school was giving us work that we still had to do. And we had to like sit on Google Meets all day, and you can't just get a 5-year-old to sit by himself on a Google Meet. So I was like, oh boy.
yeah,
So I pretty much wasn't able to do art because I spend 8 to 10 hours a day working on the business of art and actually making art. So that went away for about 18 months,
mhm,
and it was stressful. And I was like back to almost doing it part time. And because of that, like this was while the internet was exploding. Everybody was finally on the internet looking at their computers all the time. And I was like, this is perfect time for an artist to get more eyes and grow. But my focus is my kids right now. And I was like, I got to get through this. So I had to stop. And that was really hard because I also stopped painting. Like I just got sad with it because not having the 8 hours a day and being down to like a couple hours here and there meant I was just drawing and like writing my ideas for paintings, but I didn't have the time to do them. And I didn't realize coming back how hard it would be to just sit down and paint again. It was like trying to learn a skill all over again from the beginning. Like when I did it, I wasn't terrible at it, but I was rusty. And
mhm.
I was sad that it like just didn't click and come right back how I was in 2020 before everything shut down. So I had to spend almost, it felt like 6 months to a year just trying to rebuild that muscle. But there was really cool improvement within it, and things about the way I work changed. And I was like, well, this is interesting. So I had to let go of all the previous debt of what like I was as an artist and say, okay, the style's still the same, but it's the way I work is different and this is new.
Yeah. So you were growing. You were
Yes.
growing as an artist. And yeah, I think that's always good to move forward and grow and, be able to adapt, right?
Yep.
Do you have anything that like inspires you, like inspires your paintings? Do you have like artists that inspire you or people? Anything like that?
Absolutely. I want to say it's like everything that's out there that pretty much inspires me, and I pull little bits from here and there.
Mhm.
I call my studio these days, it used to be the Bat Cave, but now it's the rabbit hole. And I go down listening to podcasts and books on audiobooks and YouTube videos that I like. And I go down these rabbit holes. And the next thing I know, I have an idea. I'll be in the middle of painting something else. And I'm like, stop, write this down. I always have a sketchbook, and I either sketch it out really quick or write down just the concept of it. I'll be like, oh man, this thing about consciousness, I got to write this down. And the like a piece I'm currently working on, I was reading Wizard of Oz for to my son for school. The whole school is reading the book Wizard of Oz. And I love Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz, and I've mashed them up before in art. And I was like, you know what? I should mash them up before, but like in a different way. So I just started a painting that's the White Rabbit going down the yellow brick road when I've done Dorothy with a holding a sign before that she wanted to go to Wonderland. So I just take things that I like and enjoy and interest me and find a way to incorporate them into a piece of art that hasn't been made yet.
Cool. Do you find that you spend a lot of time still marketing yourself?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Right now, I've just learned from my 18 months away and coming back, it's all video.
Yeah.
It's all video. So I've got to get better at that. And I am literally spending an entire day each week just figuring out what I'm supposed to share video. And I'm like new at it. It's a new medium. There's so many things to learn in it. So
Yeah.
I watch the people who are good at it and I'm like, okay, like what do I like about this and how do I effectually do that in my best way?
Yeah. Very cool. So what do you see kind of like moving forward, like as an artist? Are you gonna do any future shows? Are you going to ever think about teaching online, anything like that?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. I used to teach, but I taught in person. I don't know if like right now teaching online isn't something I know how to do yet. Um, right now I'm definitely focused on doing shows and getting myself back out there. We built the art truck
Oh,
and
yeah.
it exhibits art, so it makes it a little easier for me to show up places without having to do this huge tear down and hang up each piece of art. The art truck has panels in it. We can pull the panels out and basically be an outdoor gallery wherever we are.
That's cool.
And it displays the work as we're driving to any places. We have an idea that we would like to, for collectors, I include the delivery experience now in my art. That's why the price has gone up. But I come to the collector, and the concept is that I can hold art shows at collector's house. Like, we can throw a party, and that would be cool. Like, show your friends the art. I'll bring all the art or whatever pieces you think is cool, and we'll curate an event or throw a party together. And I think that's a unique idea. I'm trying to do more in-person stuff,
Yeah.
because the internet, although it's a good place to be seen, there's so many people operating within it, and it's hard to break through that noise.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a tool in your toolbox,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I love that concept of like a pop-up party, a pop-up art party. Like
Oh,
that's,
my dream is, instead of just gallery shows,
yeah,
being able to host or curate events that's like, I had the idea years ago for an Alice in Wonderland one that's an actual tea party, and people can come in character, or there are hired paid performers that are in character, but that all the artwork's curated to the theme, and
right.
it would just be over the top awesome.
It's super fun. Make sure you invite me to that.
We can come to do it at your house.
Amazing. And didn't you take like I've been following you for I don't know, years. Um on a like and I've been kind of, I keep an eye on your art and stuff like that. Didn't you take like a beautiful trip
Yes.
over the summer?
We did a 3 months in the RV with the kids. And it was a bunch of national parks. It was a bunch of areas that I wanted to see again, that I've either lived at or been to. It was amazing. And during that time, I thought I was going to be able to do art. I really wanted to apply an air paint.
Yeah,
But it's really hard to do art when you have like little space and you're trying to enjoy things with your family. So
yeah.
instead, I went and upgraded my camera and dove back into photography, but this time doing landscapes and capturing wildlife. And I think it was a good muscle to flex at that time because we were seeing such amazing things. And it allowed me to think about composition again.
Mhm.
But it also made it so that I was like booting up the business of my art again and finally got back into the groove with painting. And then 3 months, no painting. So it was kind of like, oh no, I did it again.
Yeah.
So we won't be doing that again for a long time, but it was worth it. My other half had off of work, and I didn't have a flywheel of
Mhm.
the art thing going. So it was the one time we could do it without risking our
Yeah.
career.
No, that's good. And it's good to have that time and memories with your kids and,
Yeah,
you
they were
know,
the perfect age. And we had saved so much money by like not, we didn't go anywhere during COVID, like no going out to dinner, no vacations. So it was like, well, now let's do all the vacations.
yeah,
Oh,
why not? I the pictures and stuff you posted were beautiful. It would look like a dream trip. Like, you know,
thank you.
all the parks that you went to are beautiful. My goodness.
I I specifically, when we went to all these places, I made it so that I knew where to capture the best sunsets because I used to be a photographer and I know all these photography blogs and I have friends and I'm like, okay, like how did you get that photo? And they're like, sunrise at this mountain range, and I'm like, okay, I'll be there.
Very good.
So I each location that we moved to, I had like a plan of action for like we're gonna go on this hike at this time.
Yeah.
So that we could get like so that we could really enjoy the best moments. Because if you kind of don't plan your hike at if you're in, let's say we were in at Mesa Arch at Arches National Park.
Mhm.
If you don't plan the hike early in the morning, like I explained to my family, like it's going to be 100 degrees when we're trying to do it. So we have to do it first thing in the morning. So it's like 75 degrees and then walk back to the car before noon.
For
But
sure.
we got the sunrise at like the arches and it was, wow, it was a once in a lifetime, like amazing,
Beautiful.
worth it.
Very cool. Um, I wanted to ask you, do you have any advice for people that are looking at, you know, doing art full time, trying to get themselves out there? Do you have any advice for artists or photographers or anything like that?
My best advice in that sphere for artists and photographers is do your best work and like what calls to you. Because as long as you're excited about your work and you love it, if that excitement comes out in the work itself and when you go show it to people. If you're doing work that you think will sell, it comes off as disingenuous. Like you can see it in the work. And also when people share it, I'm like, oh, they're just doing this to like make a quick buck or make money.
Yeah.
But when you see that there's been like love and attention put into it and somebody's really trying, even when they're new at it, you're like, oh, wow, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And then it starts the conversation. And if you take one opportunity that feels good, like that seems right for you and a good fit, um, it can lead to other opportunities if you show up and you're just professional and you're yourself. And that's the way it's kind of worked for me. That you have to be okay though with kind of you're going, it's a journey into the unknown. You're kind of walking into the unknown. You don't know when this is going to click or when you're going to make money at it. It's really that part is scary.
Yeah.
And you have to be patient and okay with it, but keep showing up because you love it and just trying new different things.
Yeah.
Um, Other piece of advice is careful. There are a lot of scammer things out there. My newest one that keeps showing up for me is the NFT platforms that keep reaching out. They just want high resolution copies of your images so they can pump and dump sell them. And there's a lot of scam out there. There's a lot of art shows that want artists to pay upfront to hang their art, and they're just exploiting the artist's hopes of like so don't take on anything that feels like, hey, wait, are they just trying to use
Yeah.
and
Or
my art, or are they actually interested? And is this a good opportunity? It's hard to vet that in the beginning, but it gets easier to spot once you see the patterns.
and I think too, as artists, you end up you want to create your art. You don't want to have to be marketing. Like most
Yes,
artists are not good at marketing, right?
yes. The marketing of it was something that I learned through the galleries. And just being a kid of I grew up with the beginning of the internet. Like that was my strong suit because I was using it as like this fun place to explore as play. So now when anything shows up, I think I just have this, oh, what's this new tool? Can I play with it? Like, what does it do? I have this curiosity about it instead of this like, oh, I don't like once you start getting that close-minded, I don't know, I can't do that. Like then it prevents you from maybe being able, if it's a good tool, figuring out how it works and how you can creatively hack it for you.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and for the viewers and stuff, where can people find your work? And do you have, I know you're on Facebook, and do you have like a website, or is it
Yes.
how
The
people?
website is krissywhiskey.com, and that's KRISSYWHISKI.
Okay.
Um, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I have my name reserved on all of them except Twitter.
Okay. Yep. So you're on all the platforms. So
Yeah.
that's good. And are you doing, I know you have original works. Are you still doing prints? Like,
I stopped doing prints, and my reason for that was I went to a great print master. My colors work outside the range. So
Okay.
I would have to hand embellish all of my prints to
Oh my,
have that black light effect or to get the colors as bright as they would need to be. I need to at some point do a video
yeah,
holding up what a print looks like next to an original
yeah,
because it's so different. It's not, I feel like prints weren't a great experience of my work. So for me, it's a hard, like if I worked in black and white, I
yeah,
could do prints, but my color is my main driver of my work. So
yeah,
I'm not doing prints. And then with the dawning of NFTs,
yeah.
I'm trying to stay like and with AI, I think the print market is just it's oversaturated. So I'm not playing in it right now.
And what are your thoughts on AI? I know it's pretty new. Um, do you have any thoughts on that? Like,
I do have thoughts on it. I'm
one,
not happy about the way things were web scraped and stole like I'm not happy about the web scraping that happened that took a lot of our artwork to train the machine learning tool.
yeah,
But I do think that it's already out. I mean, the toothpaste is out of the tube, so to speak. So now there's this new tool, and I think it will be beneficial in helping people explore a new version of creativity. So it's just another tool. For me, I played around with it
mhm,
because I wanted to know what
yeah,
it was. But because my artwork is painting and traditional art, I found it interesting how good it got in the span of a year
mhm,
at what it does, but it didn't feel like a tool that's beneficial to me because I'm trying to, for myself, explore human emotion in art.
of
So
course,
working with a technology and a computer like that kind of felt like I was doing a disservice to my work. But I was like, I could see how this could help people
right,
come up with reference images or concepts or ideas to kind of get the creativity going.
yeah. Well, and hopefully it will be used as a tool and not as a detriment to existing artists, right? You know? Um,
Yeah. It's gonna shift and change, I think, the market. And my take immediately was, thank goodness I'm not selling prints, or that money would have dried up and went away that I relied on. So for the artists who are selling prints, there's now more prints in the market that can be generated in a split second by a machine learning tool. So it's like, what even really is the benefit of having a print anymore?
yeah, it's true. It's true. And also, personally, because I also do art, I'm at the hobby stage, but like I personally would want a creation that was created by someone that had emotion behind it, right? Rather than I, d despite how something good might be that AI creates, it still doesn't depict human emotion, right? So there is always going to be that difference.
I totally agree. And I'm hoping that those are the conversations that get had more. Artists are mad about AI right now, but I think they're going to see buyers who and people who are saying, you know what, this is a reason to place more value on human creators. I mean, we were kind of all fed to the machine anyway, our work. So we still need to keep obviously creating in order for even the machine to be able to generate anything new.
True. Good point. Yeah. It is based on human creativity, right? So
Yeah.
for sure. I think artists, I think maybe are a little intimidated maybe by it, scared by it, something that they're not totally comfortable with. And, so I think moving forward, I think it'll be fine. It's just, it'll have its place and it will never replace original creative artwork, right? It never can ever do that. So,
Yeah. I'm actually interested. Like, I can see why it is scary and it's very Wild West right now because nobody knows how it's going to change really and shape the markets. But I'm actually really interested to see what comes of it in terms of working with it.
yeah.
Um, and what new creative voices show up in the sphere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of uncharted waters, and it'll be interesting to see where things go.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested to see where you're gonna go.
Let's
So,
see, what's next? I did an art show with the Nothing Pretty Collective in Harrisburg.
mhm,
During it was like right after COVID, in 2022, I think our opening was, but people were still hesitant. The end of 2021 is when it was. People were still hesitant because there were different variations and strains of the virus coming out, and it was a mass show, so it was strange.
yeah,
It was unlike anything I'd ever done before, but the curator did a beautiful job of hanging the show in the building. And she's asked to have us again. So I think at the end of this year, I think November, we'll
nice.
be showing together again in a 3-person show. In person, I'd like to do more of. I'd like to do more museums. I'd like to do more traveling to collectors areas and um, displaying in person to kind of show people why my work doesn't show up well in prints. And while it's cool to see it as a little tiny 2x2 thing on the phone,
Yeah,
it in person they're big paintings and artwork in person.
yeah.
I think people need to be educated about that. I mean, for my birthday, I don't know if you saw, I drove all the way to Detroit to see the Van Gogh in America exhibit.
Cool, cool.
That was like an 8-hour drive each way, but that's all I wanted for my birthday. I was like, Van Gogh's art is there and it comes down in a month, and I have to see. It was like the biggest display of his works in person in the US in years. And I was like, I have to see this.
Cool, cool. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm super excited I'm always excited when you post something new.
Thank you.
Um, you're so creative, and sometimes I'm like, how does her brain work?
I don't know if you saw the other podcast I did just last week, Creative Space. I talked about that. I have synesthesia.
Oh, cool.
I talked about how time is a temporal thing. That's why I almost missed this meeting. I rarely know what day or time it is. It's so temporal.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to have you back and have a discussion about that because
Awesome.
I always like look at your work and I'm like, oh, it's like so creative and so different from the last one, right? So
Thank you.
I'm always excited to see what you're doing, and I love your work obviously because I own some of it. So
Yay.
definitely a
Um,
fan of a groupie.
you'll see me more often in video. That's what I'm going to start exploring more, and hopefully being able to share some more of the time lapses. Because I don't know if you know this, but every painting that I do, I record it start to finish. So
Oh,
I've got terabytes, all these
wow.
paintings. But
That's so
it's the video editing is what I'm still a baby and new at.
yeah, yeah, that's time consuming for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited, and I thank you for coming on here and having a fun and wonderful discussion with me. And I'm like I said, I'm always excited to see where you're headed and what you're doing next. And I'm sure that our viewers will definitely check out your work because you can see in the background there some of your work up in the corner and everything. So thank you for joining us. And I will definitely put everything in the description below when I post this of where people can find your work and share it on all my social media. And thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. And we'll have you back on again maybe later in the year and we'll see, we'll maybe have a chat about where your brain's at.
Awesome. I look forward to it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.